We have a new report for the first quarter of the year as far as the performance of pensions in Nigeria is concerned, brought to us, of course, from PenOp. And this, there it is, the pension industry's first quarter report for the year. Oguche Aguda, who, of course, is the CEO of PenOp, the Pension Fund Operators Association of Nigeria, joins us to get into this report. Oguche, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Morning, Rotus.
So much to get into. Let's see how we can rifle through it all, right? Deep thanks for sharing this report. All right, so first off, as far as let's put up the first slide from the report here. Defaulting, you've put some stats on the amount that has been recovered for the first quarter. I think it's about 34 million.
300 something.
300. I missed my decimals. 384 million. Is that enough? Because principal about 119 seems like a small number. So take us through that.
Yeah, it seems like a small number, but I think it also speaks to compliance. So over the years, a number of firms have been complying, right? And then the process to get the money back is not just straightforward. So Pencom has recovery agents which they work with, and first is engaging those companies. Why are you not paying? Before they go on to prosecution, some are actually prosecuted, and then penalties. So that process is ongoing. But the good thing to know is that all those monies that are recovered goes back to the RSA holders. So the individuals who their pensions were not paid by their companies, they get the money back.
Yeah.
So Pencom has done a lot over the number of years, over the last 10 years, to ensure that we recover money. Yes, you could argue that it could be more, but I think they've done quite a bit.
Now, is this dependent on whistleblowing for employers to whistleblow? Is that how as far as the report?
It's typically whistleblowing. So if you work in an organization and your employer is not paying your pensions, if you have more than 3 people, so you work in an organization, you have 10 people, 15 people, and they're not paying, so you whistleblow to Pencom.
Okay.
Right? The process, I believe, is on their website, right? So, and then once they do that, they send their people there, and then they recover the money.
Okay, there's another data point on the report. I think it's 24.5 billion over a 10-year period.
Yep.
How do we interpret this? If this number grows, does that mean people are whistleblowing and you're able to collect more? If it falls, does that mean companies are more compliant? I don't know how it seems pretty. How would one interpret these figures?
It's a bit more complex than that, but I think for me, I think it's carrot and stick, and what we try to do is use the carrot and stick. On the stick side is prosecution, because it's against the law, it's actually in the law. If you don't contribute, it's a criminal offense. But also the carrots in terms of, as an organization, if you are contributing pensions, then there's so much that you can do, because if you don't contribute pensions, you can't benefit from government contracts. If you want to list on the exchange, if you want to raise money externally, or even from the formal financial market, you won't get. And besides, it helps to retain staff and also to attract staff. If I'm working somewhere and I know that my employer is paying my pensions, I want to stay there, right? So what we preach to companies is that it's in your best interest to pay pensions, because you become an employer of choice. So it's carrot and stick.
Great stuff. Micro pensions, let's get to that part. 3,898. Now this is the scheme from 2019 for employers of 2 or 3 people, right? Mm-hmm. So 3,898 contributors over the last 3 months. 48 million naira contributed. Again, is that it seems kind of low? Is it because of economic conditions? Talk to us about these numbers. How would you?
Yeah, it's a low number, Rotu. So when the micro pension scheme started in 2019, just before COVID, right? So that sort of rolled back some of the plans we had. But I think it's a new product, and we're trying to rework the product because it's voluntary. It's not contributory like the one in the formal sector. So that's one of the reasons. And we're looking at a number of things, and probably get into some of the things we're looking into to grow that number beyond what it is.
Okay,
now.
Cool. Yeah, because in fact, if you look at it, another part of this, I guess in total is under 100,000. Yeah, participation since 2019. Mm-hmm. What now? Was there? I know you had a stakeholders engagement in Abuja last month, and I believe it was your project management lead said the target was it 40 million by 2024 or? Yeah, I mean, talk us through that.
Yeah, so there's a national financial inclusion strategy, which is driven by the central bank, and it has many people as part of that. So this was years ago, and they had looked to say, by 2024, we could have reached 40 million people, but that has been revised now to about 2.2 million people in 2007.
Okay.
But essentially, it speaks to the growth, the potential in the micro pension space. So there are about 50 million Nigerians who are in the informal sector, and just about 100,000 of them have micro pensions accounts. So look at the amount of growth. I mean, there's some modeling that says if just 10% of that number contribute $1 a day for the next 5 years, the assets under management just for micro pension will be 18 billion. So the amount is huge. There's a huge potential, there's a huge business, and we're trying to encourage a number of people with incentives, working with partners, even the telcos, insurance companies, to see how we can incentivize. So we're at the process of revising the product to make it more appealing to Nigerians, because there's a pandemic that's probably going to happen in the next 10, 20 years where people retire and they don't have pensions. So people are expecting their children to pay their pensions, or the government. So we need to get people to save for their future voluntarily with the micro pensions.
The RSA membership, 9 million or 9.9,
yeah.
right? But that's versus the labor force. I mean, the World Bank has its own number, 73 million. The Bureau of Statistics from 2020, I think 69.
Yeah.
That ratio, it does look kind of, is that still on the economy? If you had more, a healthier economy, you'd have more RSAs.
Definitely. If you had a healthier economy, you have more people working and you have more people saving for their pensions. But I think that speaks to a number of things. So the 9.8 million is really the formal workforce, which is the federal government staff and those in the formal private sector, right? It excludes the state government. So the state governments, we have 36 states, and just about 8 or so are really contributing. So the state government is a huge, massive, untapped place, and many of them are not compliant in a sense because the pensions is under the concurrent list. So it's compulsory for federal government staff and private, but for the state governments it's not. So we're trying to do a lot with the state governments to ensure that they also ensure that their staff are able to get pensions when they retire.
Now, on the matter of assets, 15.8 trillion, right, in assets. Someone tackled me on this when I was looking at the market cap of the stock exchange. Should I be converting this number to dollars or to see how we're doing in FX, or should I be staying in Naira as far as the total assets are concerned?
We're spending Naira in Nigeria.
So I shouldn't go to dollars.
Maybe you shouldn't.
So what do you make? I mean, could this be bigger?
No, of course. It could be bigger, but I think, someone says, is the glass half empty or half full? Someone says, there's water in the glass, just drink it. Right? So,
I like that. How have I not heard that before?
Just drink the water.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're coming from a place where there was negative liabilities. When the Pension Reform Act started in 2004, the government had a negative liability of about 2 trillion naira.
Wow.
People that were owing.
Yeah.
Now we're positive about 15 trillion. So that's positive, right? It could be bigger with compliance, with state governments, with informal sector. But I like to look at the positives. And there's a lot more that has been done. So it's growing at an average rate of about 20% compound annual growth rate a year over the last 5 years, which is strong. And we believe that those strong numbers will continue.
Can PF, and I know this is policy, there's a regulator, so, can PFAs be more daring in what they invest in to get more returns? Or, because we're dealing with people's futures here, we got to stay conservative in where they can deploy these assets to get returns? Yeah,
so that's what they do on a daily basis, trying to manage risk and return, trying to manage safety and profitability. So that's the job they do, and they do it in various ways. So Rotis, if you were to retire and I came to you and you had maybe X million in your retirement savings account, and I said, Rotis, I'm sorry, I can't give you the money because it's lost. Some people prefer safety, right? And that's why we have the multi-fund structure in Nigeria. And many people don't know about it, but we need to let more people know there's a multi-fund structure. You can determine and decide, ask your PFA to say, I want to take more risk. I want to go to Fund 1. Fund 1 is riskier. Or I'm balanced, I'll stay in Fund 2, or I want to be conservative, so I go to Fund 3. So as an individual, you can actually determine how you want your PFA to take the risk. So that's the balance they do on a daily basis. That's how they earn their fees, and that's how they keep it.
I can't let you go without asking you this. The reality of the situation on ground, fuel subsidies removed, cost of living is higher. There is a provision to take out up to 25% if you've lost your job. And I know the micro side, there's some flexibility. Are you expecting more withdrawals over the course of the rest of this year with how tough things are right now?
Yeah, so the new administration is just 60 days, and I think things will change. So it's early days, so we are not modeling based on that. So things will still change. Yes, in the short run, there's a lot of people haggling over cost of living, but I think there's still a long way to go. We don't envisage things will change drastically with regards to withdrawals and things like that, but let's see, early days.
Great reports, very informative. Thank you for taking the time to come talk to us. Oguchi Aguda, CEO of PenOp. Thanks for this Q1 report. Very important. PenOps, actually pensions rather.